All right, welcome everybody. We have Dave Reid here from Sandyke Company. How are you doing today, Dave?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't you start off with, Dave? What do you do?
Well, at Sandyke Company, it's a CPA firm, so we do accounting and auditing and compilations of financial statements, tax returns. We do assist with some bookkeeping and record keeping,
Awesome.
some business planning, and especially with regards to forecasting, budgeting, and writing and things like that. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's the main core of our services.
For sure. All important things, especially. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how long have you been working in the CPA accounting space for finance?
Well, I myself and Troy Sandyke's the CPA here. I assist him in those ways. We've been working in the business, would say, since 2005. So he was, prior to that, took his articling up in Fort St. John, came back to Kamloops, where he's from, and we decided to start a company. But since he was still going through the process, we set up a company called Reid Business Consulting.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ran like similar type of services as we do now, but until Troy got full certification in 2009, I believe it was,
yeah,
he became a CGA. Then we turned it to Troy B. Sandyke CGA. And then in about 2012, all of the CAs and all of them became CPAs.
Yeah.
So then we changed the name to Sandyke Company CPA. But we've been technically doing very similar services since 2005.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Wow. Yeah, I remember our coach, one of the coaches at the firm, Marty Tazalar, he had his designation, and he was actually telling me when the transition came through and everybody became CPA as well.
Right. I think I've met Marty at one of our BNI meetings.
Yeah, I'm sure. Absolutely. Awesome. And what are the general types of businesses or customers you guys deal with, or the range? I'm sure there's a huge range of types of companies and customers you work with on a regular basis. Yeah,
well, being a small firm, like a smaller firm, we tend to do like a lot of everything. And that's, I guess it has its pluses and negatives. The plus is that you get to know your clients very intimately, you get to talk to a lot of people, you get to do a variety of work, but the negatives is too is you've got that much on your plate. But you work with that, right? That's the thing. So I would say that we range from everything from mechanic shops, convenience stores, professionals like psychologists, psychiatrists, small business, like to medium size. We don't do any really large business, but small to medium is kind of our niche, and small corporations is our favorite. But if someone's got a sole proprietorship, similarly, like someone's got a few employees maybe, or we say like maybe up to 10-15 million in sales, or 10 or 20 employees kind of thing. We're not looking necessarily to go super big because that would take a lot more staff and things. But
absolutely. Oh, that's awesome.
That's generally what we work with in town and around the area.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good solid range there. Obviously, guys, being in business for so long and moving through the pandemic too, there are probably a lot of changes and adjustments to how you did service that happened throughout COVID-19. What kind of considerations did the pandemic make necessary for you guys?
Well, one thing we found was that we didn't get slower. We actually almost got busier. Okay. We were one of those types of in the industries. I think all accounting firms, law firms, things like that. A lot of those type of professionals didn't stop. Like it almost multiplied because of form filling out, government subsidies, different things like that. So we found that was an actual, it didn't really hurt us that way. Obviously, the in-person meetings with other networking groups and or people coming into our facility, there was the plastic barriers and all of that, and the masks and things like that. So there was a lot less of that for a year and a half, I'd say.
Yeah.
Which led us to doing more DocuSign type things, because of one of the things I know a lot of people wonder, like what was the changes that happened. Well, before that, we were a real sign off, handshake kind of firm, and we still are. We still like that idea. We've definitely kind of come into the new, more DocuSigning, especially for tax returns, when you don't really have to meet the person to sign off on some things like that. It really helps streamline things that way, I would say. Yeah. And it also made it easier for people who are email savvy. They don't have to park the car, come in and sign off, because that's all they needed to do at that moment. So
yeah, absolutely.
And Zoom, I it's a love-hate relationship with Zoom and Teams. It's great for the convenience, but like I was saying, today was our first in-person meeting with our other networking group. It was really cool. It was a little awkward, but it was cool. But definitely Zoom is something that's helpful for those times you just can't go somewhere and you can at least meet a client pretty quickly. So that we found that to be a change too.
For sure. Yeah. We were even finding that it's nice to have almost a hybrid relationship with clients, right? That face to face is huge, right? You can absolutely develop that. Handshake connections are really important for developing those relationships as well. But, quick things, DocuSign is a huge feature. I was actually chatting with a friend of mine, and he was saying that he actually signed a $100 million deal for a business acquisition the other day via DocuSign. And
Isn't that amazing?
yeah, and he's like, it's crazy now. We can do something this huge, like all through like an email DocuSign system.
Yeah.
Right. It's amazing.
Yeah, that is, and so there's that's the good part too. So obviously everyone loves the travel, meeting people and all that, but for those mundane meetings or the meetings that maybe you don't even really need to happen, you don't know, Zoom thing is quick because you can, okay, we're done now, we're done, rather than getting in your car, driving somewhere, wasting all that time. So there is a lot of uses for it as well, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I'm sure we've kind of already answered it, but of all those actions taken throughout the pandemic, I'm sure like a lot of those have continued now, just because it allows you to fit clients in a more efficient manner, right? You can get things done more efficiently as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say we're a very hands-on kind of firm still, but we have definitely embraced those things a lot more.
Absolutely, absolutely right. And it's funny too, because now that we're seeing too, now that those things have been put in place, like DocuSign and a lot of these Zoom meetings and other things, now businesses a lot of the companies we're working with, they need more systems to manage that, because that allows you to do a lot more volume in a lot smaller amount of time. So being organized, having, like things like a default diary, like when you're doing your meetings and stuff like that, having those at set times really allow you to be efficient with your work while taking on that higher volume as well.
True. That's true. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, you've been a business owner for a number of years, Dave. What would you say is one of the biggest learning lessons that you've had since being a business owner?
I think being myself and Troy, who's the primary CPA here, we've always done businesses and ideas and entrepreneurism since we were in college.
Mm-hmm.
And we even did college pro painters when we were in college, other things like that. And so we've had at least a little bit of an understanding of how hard business can be. I think that's the thing. Like, it's not, I'm not trying to sound negative, but it's not an easy flow. And a lot of people think that maybe too. But being in the accounting field, we get a chance to sample so many businesses. Like, you can see income statements and balance sheets from so many different types of industries.
Yeah.
And you really start to realize how small a lot of margins are, and how important it is for people to, it sounds silly, but maximize income, minimize costs. But that is such a key, and that's obviously the job of an accountant or a financial advisor or even lawyers, those kind of professionals, to help people with that. But that's the biggest thing, is realizing that you need to have a dream and you need to feel entrepreneurial. You need to have all that gumption. You need to have all that marketing, but you also need to look at that back end and like, where are the books going? Can you afford to hire that person? Can you afford that bigger rent? And definitely people need a business plan. People need to be able to, it doesn't have to be really extensive either. It doesn't have to be something overwhelming. Probably shouldn't be either, because you won't refer back to it. Mm-hmm. But I definitely think that people need business planning. I think people need to really crunch the numbers. And that's the boring, kind of annoying part too for everybody. And it's scary. But if not done well, that's where you see the losses and the businesses going under. So that's what I've learned a lot, I think.
That is a huge point. I love that. That's a great lesson. That's something we review with our clients all the time, because, I mean, it's not, I want to say it's not uncommon, but it is actually common, where we'll go through with a more established organization or company, and we'll be reviewing the finances of their products, and we'll find, hey, did you know that you're actually losing money every time you sell this product or complete this service? And they had no idea, right? No. Yeah, because due to inflation and all these other things, costs went up. They might have switched a carrier or a provider or something to that effect, and without even knowing, they're losing money on that product, and they had no idea, right? So, or the opposite, the complete opposite happens sometimes too, where we'll be reviewing a bunch of products that are being sold regularly, and one has a 10% profit margin, another has a 40 or 50% margin, and all they would have to do is switch those products out, and they'd be making way more margin, and they just had no clue. So that is an important part of business. Absolutely, we have to review on a consistent basis. And one of the other things you said there, working off a plan, that's also key. One things we work with our owners quarterly on is we ask them, are you working off of a budget-driven marketing plan, right? If you're investing into marketing or any aspect of your business, are you doing it off of a budget, or is just, let's just throw a bunch of money at the situation and hope we come out positive on the other side, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a great learning lesson for sure. Dave, any offers or great places great ways for people to get in touch with you if they need some accounting services?
Yeah. So in Kamloops, we're located at Suite 6, 237 6th Avenue, down on Victoria Street, but you have to come in the side on 6th Avenue. You can send messages to us on email at service@sandykecpa.ca.
Awesome.
And our phone number is 250-434-1182.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll include all your information in the card too, so people can get in touch if they need to. And the last question for you today, Dave, what do you find is most inspiring to you today?
I think the most inspiring thing is, again, I don't have a full handle on this myself even, but just I do watch a lot of podcasts and listen to a lot of business things. It is it's an intense time we're in right now. The recession, the interest rates, I heard they're going to go up 0.75 or whatever, maybe things like that. You're hearing those, inflation's so high, what's happening in the world. But a lot of the guys and gals that I watch that are really big on investment and business and real estate and all that stuff, is that this is the time when a lot of people are going to actually have a chance to make it big, like if positioned right. And again, that means having your cash in order, having that plan in order, having access to financing and things that are good. So I don't think it's really from an accounting thing just solely, or what we do, but just that idea that I don't even, again, like I said, I don't have a full clue exactly what you do or don't do enough, but just to be open-minded and understand that even though the times are really rough and tough seemingly, and they are, there's a real potential for people to even make it big, like to go big in this time. So as much as things might sound dire, coming out of this could be very successful. So
awesome. That's a great point. I can't argue or even add to that. Thank you so much for that, Dave. Well, thank you for the time, Dave. I appreciate it. And it was great getting in touch with you.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.